I hope you find this video useful. It's about serve, invest and invite, which is our strategy, our very simple strategy for building relational bridges with people in order to help to bring our friends to Jesus. We want to serve real needs. We want to invest time, deepen relationships with people, and invite them into church community, church events such as Alpha. But most importantly, we want to invite them to come to know Jesus through the gospel. And this is really helped if we build those relational bridges by serving, investing, and inviting. During this Jonah series, we're going to be interviewing different people about how they do this. So I hope you find this video inspiring and useful.
Now I'm going to invite Brenda up and I'm going to ask her about serve, invest and invite. So let's welcome Brenda. During this series, we're going to be interviewing people about their own experience of this, of serve, invest, and invite. So thank you, Brenda, for being prepared to stand in front of the church and sing a song for us.
You don't want to hear me sing.
That solo you mentioned earlier. Okay, so there's a few questions here that we're going to go through together. So outside of the church, what are the communities you would say that God has put you into?
Well, family. Family is a community. So he's placed me in my family of my colleagues, my team that I work with. Glennis and I belongs to a ministry team outside of church, and friends. Those are my communities.
Great. So do you have any examples of how you serve in those communities to demonstrate God's love?
My time, the giving of my time. My time is precious. Those who know me, I really value my time. But also by actively listening. In my job, I work with people who need to be listened to, but also my colleagues. Sometimes they might be having a rough day, and I make that time, even though I'm stopping what I'm doing just to listen, but I make the time to listen. And also supporting in practical ways. We don't always have to say, Jesus, I'm not saying we shouldn't say that, but sometimes someone might have a need. They might need you to do shopping or something, or to wash the dishes or something, which I do with my daughter sometimes. But so we can support people in practical ways, and people are watching us, and that's demonstrating God's love.
I love the active listening. It's a good
because we can pretend don't you sometimes someone speaking to you and then you say, did you hear me? Oh, sorry, I wasn't really listening. So it's to actively listen. It's put down what you're doing and right, I'm listening to what you're saying. And we all want to be listened to. We don't want to be speaking to someone who's not listening to us. So it's important to actively listen.
So put your phone down maybe?
Put your phone down, turn off Netflix.
Turn off Netflix, that kind of thing.
And just spend the time listening to what the person's saying.
Really important, that's really great. What challenges do you have in investing in relationships God has given to you?
Work commitments, that tends to be the biggest thing. Work commitments.
Time of work? It's just
my time of work. And when I'm finished, and I'm being honest, I'm really being honest, sometimes I just don't have the energy or the mental strength to be doing the active listening that I just spoke about, but I'm being honest. And sometimes tiredness, I'm getting older, and I'm tired sometimes.
You're not getting older?
I am.
You're like Melchizedek. Sorry, that's in joke.
And also distance. My daughter, one of my daughters live really far away, so the distance sometimes. And more importantly, I suffer with social anxiety. I might not seem as if I do. My son knows. I do. So sometimes if I'm invited somewhere, it takes a lot for me to go. I have to really speak to my mind and say, right, I'm going to make that effort to go. And it's not because I don't want to go, but it's difficult sometimes. So those are some of the things that stands in my way.
Yeah, I'm sure most people would relate to a lot of that, wouldn't they? The reason why I'm asking this question is most of us think it's easier for someone else, and it's not. We've all got our own challenges around this. Do you have any examples of how you invest in relationships in your life?
Yeah, coming back to making time. You know, we live in a very busy world, don't we? You might not work in the type of job I work in, but you could have families. Rachel's got children, and you might want to make that time, but you've got things that you're doing. So I make time. I intentionally make, that's my new thing for this year, intentionally make time. I'm going to make time for people. So even with the social anxiety, work commitments, I'm going to invest in people by making time. Going for a coffee with my colleagues, they're always going on social events. I never really go often, but I'm going to make more of an effort to go so that I can be just demonstrating God's love by being there with them. I might not like things that they're doing, and I'm not saying going to get drunk and stuff like that. I'm not talking about that. But going for coffee, going for a meal, making that time for people. People value time. Yeah. If you think about it, when people give you time, don't you feel like, oh, you feel special? So that's what we need to be doing. Well, Brenda, that's what I need to be doing.
Yeah. I think it's a good point, actually. She said it's sort of a resolution, really. Spend, did you call it? Focus time, probably?
Yeah, spending time.
Spending time with
intentionally.
People. Intentional time, yeah. I encourage you to write down, if you've got something like this, you feel during this series, or as we enter the new year, write down this thing that you feel, particularly around the mission, and pray it. Keep coming back and praying it. You feel, yeah, Lord, help me to give this time. And keep praying it and praying it and praying it, because we rely on God to change us, don't we, in the first place.
So could I just say something else? And not feeling guilty when you fail of giving time. Because sometimes we think, oh, I should have made that time. And I didn't. But you acknowledge that, right, I didn't do it, right, I'm going to do it next time. Yes, I'm doing it.
That's it.
So just getting back up and doing it because you're conscious of that you didn't do it. Yeah. But, God doesn't beat us over the head with a stick. He understands. So, right, I'm going to do it and just make that time to do that.
Brilliant. That's right. Do you have any examples of how you have invited people into the church community or an event?
Yeah, the Christmas carol.
Yeah.
I invited my elder sister. She was sick, she couldn't come, but my daughter, my granddaughter, and other members of the family came. And they were really blessed by that. And I've got my son to thank for that, because, I always say, oh, they're never doing this, they're never doing that. Sometimes we can be judgmental. And then he said, well, why don't you just invite them to something so simple? And I called my sister. She said, yeah, I'll be there. But she got sick. And then my daughter came and my granddaughter, and she loved it. So I'll start with my family and branch out from there.
Yeah, I think we're all nervous, aren't we, about inviting people to events? And some of you are much braver than others, but most people find it hard. It's worth acknowledging that. Yeah, just worth acknowledging that, and know that we're the same. So and take a step forward on that. So finally, do you have any examples of inviting people to know God through the gospel?
Yeah, I share my testimony. Yeah, God has called us to share our testimony. Yeah. So I share it loud and proud. I'm not frightened of that. And I'll go to churches and do that. I do it on a one-to-one basis, sit down with someone and say, well, listen, this is what I've been through. This is what God has brought me through. And sometimes on a one-to-one basis, it's quite good. You're having a cup of coffee, they're sharing, and then I can share what God has done in my life. And they will think, oh my gosh, if he can do it in her life, he can do it in my life too. Also sending encouraging verses or voice notes. I'm not one for writing long texts. I get tired of doing that. But I'll just send an encouraging verse or a podcast. I listened to one this morning. I'm going to send it to family members. And also verses that really, I think, might be connected to something that someone's going through. I'll send a verse and say, well, listen, this is what God said. Why don't you ponder on that? Maybe we can speak about it later, and I could sort of explain it a bit better than I would do if I was just to do it. I don't know if I've answered.
Thank you, Brenda. Wasn't that good? Yeah. Thank you, Brenda.
Sorry, can I just say one thing? Can I just share one verse?
Song now, are we?
No. One day. I'm very much about obedience, yeah? And I'm not saying I get it right all the time, but in Isaiah, it ties in with what Matt's going to be preaching over the next few weeks. But in Isaiah 6:8, it says, then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and whom will go for us? And in Isaiah, it says, and I said, here I am, send me. Have to get to that place where we say, God, send me. I'm willing, I'm nervous, everything like that, but send me. I will do what you've asked me to do, because he doesn't ask you to do something without equipping you to do it. So let our voices be, Lord, send me.
Brilliant stuff. Well done.